It does not look pretty. It looks absolutely nothing like what you see on advertisements or the cover of movie posters for Harold and Kumar. Chef Brian Tsao here, not your typical chef, and no, I am not related to Homer Simpson. We both just have extremely poor decision making when it comes to our finances, overeat way too often, and have explosive anger.
You're making me angry!
No, wait, that's the Hulk. No! Today we are featuring White Castle. Yes, that White Castle. The White Castle. The very same White Castle featured in the movie Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I think it's fair to say once you say the name White Castle, everyone immediately thinks greasy, fatty, salty, and it's awesome. I did not eat White Castle very often growing up because, well, it just wasn't very convenient to get to, and there aren't as many of them out there compared to those other chains. But I do clearly remember every time I went to White Castle thoroughly enjoying it. I also remember my friends thinking that I was totally gross for wanting to eat White Castle, knocking the burgers, and it's true, their burgers are ugly as when you actually get them in your hands. It's also a very sterile environment, everything being white tiles and just having this very bright white aesthetic. It feels very bland and almost reminds you of like a doctor's office or a hospital. I want to remind everybody that the purpose of I Tried So You Don't Have To is not to shit all over fast food, although that's what ends up happening most of the time. But really, it's to give you an idea how a professional would critique food. I am a professional in the culinary business with 16 years of experience, graduated from the Culinary Institute of America, and I also defeated Bobby Flay on his show, Beat Bobby Flay. With that said, I want to make this very clear, this video is not sponsored. I paid for these items with my own money, and I also make sure to have a little something in my stomach so that it doesn't affect my final grading at the end. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. The first meal that popped up on Uber Eats didn't have one, not two, not three, fucking 4 sliders. That is a lot of packaging, and that's gotta add to their cost. Just an observation. Looking at the slider, it does not look pretty. It looks absolutely nothing like what you see on advertisements or the cover of movie posters for Harold and Kumar. It just looks greasy, cheesy, soft, cushiony, and delicious. When Harold and Kumar came out, I actually lived in mainland China at the time, so I was so bummed out. I was watching this movie, being reminded of my middle school years, but not being able to get White Castle because White Castle didn't fucking exist in China, or at least that I knew of. When I finally came home for like summer vacation or winter break, whatever it was, one of the first stops was White Castle. And much like the movie, I ordered a shit ton of White Castle sodas and fries and just binged out like Harold and Kumar did at the end of the movie to try to relive that memory. Looking at the bread, it is definitely the most generic mass-produced bread I've ever seen. It is soft, it is fluffy, probably filled with a bunch of preservatives. As I mentioned in many of the previous episodes, mass-produced bread products will often have some type of preservative to slow down molding and also prevent it from getting stale as quickly. Or as they like to say, preserve freshness. However, I will say this is some of my favorite burger bun bread. There's just something familiar about it and enjoyable. Let's be honest, if it wasn't enjoyable, no one would fucking eat it. They use slices of cheese on here. Oh, this is completely glued, almost completely glued together. They put on a slice of cheese, some pickles, it looks like ketchup. Bottom bun has soaked up a ton of the grease from this burger patty. Let's take a look at this burger patty. I'm opening it. Oof, yeah, that was a lot of juice in that burger patty. Very interesting. This is the first time I've seen it with any of the burger chains. There are holes in that patty, and there's a specific reason for that. It's so that it cooks more evenly throughout the entire protein. I mentioned in the Shake Shack episode that they cook their burgers to medium well, and they do that because they use a clean source of protein. Ground beef is, well, it's ground up. It's chunks of beef put into a grinder. all the bacteria and viruses and microbes that are on the surface of the protein gets incorporated into that mixture. That is why often ground products are cooked well done, just as a safety precaution. Guys, honestly, you've probably eaten more dirty meat than you'd care to admit. Let's take our first bite. Ooh. I don't know if you can hear that crunch. There is like a big chunk of connective tissue or tendon in there that I crunched onto. For protein production, they will typically trim off the fat. How well do they trim it of all the silver skin, of all the connective tissue and tendon? They'll either use that for another product or throw it out entirely. But why throw it out entirely when you can grind it up and put it into the meat mixture? The more they can pump that into the protein, the cheaper it makes it because they're throwing less stuff into the trash. Remember, your trash can is the most wasteful tool in your entire kitchen. The less stuff you put into that trash can, the more money you save. So they just put a bunch of fucking trash in there for me. I can safely say this is probably the cheapest meat around. I finished that first slider to see were all the ratios of all the products in that slider on point, and I'm sad to say they were not. There was a good amount of cheese, there was a lot of fat, gives a really nice mouthfeel, but there's not enough ketchup, and the pickles are just really subpar. This is my second slider. I wish there was like 15% more meat. To me, a little bit too much bread in ratio to the meat. I love the little pops of caramelized onions found throughout. They literally cook these burgers on a bed of caramelized onions. Really good touch for those of you who don't like onions. Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
There's one thing the pickle is giving to this slider that it really needs is texture. Everything is soft and mushy. Those pickles really give a nice crunch as opposed to that connective tissue that was found in the ground beef. I will say, out of all the burgers that we've had on this show, this is definitely one of the most fragrant and aromatic. Those caramelized onions just really take it up one level. I enjoy it a lot. By the fourth slider, I'm starting to feel it way down in my stomach. It is very greasy, it is very fatty. I find it absolutely delicious, though not living up to my memories of when I was much younger. Overall, I'm pretty happy, and obviously I like it enough that I finished all 4 sliders. This meal was $15 and change after tax via Uber Eats. For fast food, that's pretty fucking expensive, but again, let's remember I ordered it through Uber Eats. If I'm not mistaken, the meal before the Uber Eats upcharge was in the territory of like $11 and change. That's okay, I still think it's on the higher side. So let's grade this, 1 out of 10. What do I give it? 1 being when Homer Simpson got sucked into the 3rd dimension and never saw his family again. Or 10 being when Homer Simpson found the broken down sugar truck and amassed all this free sugar and could sell it to the world and become rich. I give White Castle sliders, the jewel of Harold and Kumar's journey, I give it a 5.75. Guys, if you like this content, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, share with your friends, make sure the notifications are on. I do a new episode every Friday. In the comments below, I want to know what you want to see me review on the next episode of I Tried So You Don't Have To. Guys, I am Chef Brian Tsao, not your typical chef, and I'll see you really soon.